Hello, everyone. Welcome to the News Browse News broadcast. A court hearing has commenced in Edmonton regarding a possible injunction to halt a movement advocating for Alberta's separation from Canada. The Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation is spearheading this legal challenge, asking a Court of King's Bench judge to suspend a petition campaign initiated by the group Stay Free Alberta. The First Nation contends that such a separation movement requires their explicit consent and that its existence has already inflicted serious harm upon Indigenous people, manifesting as heightened racism and damaged treaty relationships. Stay Free Alberta claims to have garnered over 178,000 signatures, exceeding the threshold for a referendum, and plans to submit its petition to Elections Alberta by May. This hearing, which began on April 7, 2026, is anticipated to span several days, with other First Nations also slated to present arguments against the province's citizen-initiated referendum process. This report comes from the Canadian Press. Global News reports that the Toronto District School Board, TDSB, plans to cut just under 300 teaching positions for the upcoming school year. Dajuwe, the practice space ports going so quoting will present 2 more percent. Dajuwe nearly teachers of Toronto Fit ET and the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation. ISDF, Toronto claim the actual number of eliminated positions is much higher, totaling 607. According to the unions, these cuts include approximately 483.5 elementary positions and 123.5 full-time equivalent secondary school roles. Specifically, ETT notes cuts to 254 elementary classroom teachers and 72 ESL teachers, while OSSTF adds 23 ESL staff cuts. A significant portion of these reductions, 145 elementary and 30 secondary teachers, come from learning opportunities and model school programs, which serve vulnerable students, including those in lower-income areas and Indigenous alternative schools. Unions express deep concern, with Michelle Teixeira of OSSTF Toronto stating that fewer adults in buildings will negatively impact student success and lead to larger class sizes. Helen Victoros, president of ETT, directly blames the provincial government, particularly Education Minister Paul Calandra's appointment of an overseer to balance the TDSB's budget. She argues that decisions made since the provincial takeover have had the opposite effect of delivering resources to classrooms. Ontario NDP MPP Jessica Bell also criticized the move, highlighting existing overcrowding. While TDSB maintains a lower figure, unions remain skeptical due to a perceived lack of transparency and urge the government to reverse the cuts and reform the funding model based on student needs. The death of Manjeet Singh, a 42-year-old undocumented migrant who died on the streets of Montreal's Park Extension neighborhood, was avoidable, according to community workers. Amina Saman, a community worker, told the Canadian Press that she had offered to help Singh renew his refugee status and work permit and find suitable housing, just weeks before he was found unresponsive and later died in hospital on January 16th. Singh, who arrived in Canada from India in 2018 as a refugee claimant, struggled to find work after his documents expired in 2022 and was evicted from a cramped shared housing unit, leaving him exposed to the cold. His family in India, including his wife and 2 children, are seeking answers. This tragedy comes as the Quebec Coroner's Office has launched an inquest into the sharp rise in deaths of unhoused people in Montreal, with statistics showing an increase from 19 deaths in 2022, 123 in 2024. Advocates like Amy Darwish are calling for emergency shelters in the neighborhood and a government program to grant legal status to undocumented migrants. According to CTV News, Toronto is rolling out artificial intelligence-controlled traffic lights, starting with intersections along Yonge Street in North York, as part of a broader strategy to alleviate severe gridlock. Following successful tests, these smart signals, costing $55,000 per location, will detect vehicle increases and dynamically adjust green and left-turn light durations across the network. Roger Brown, the city's director for congestion and network management, stated that the AI performed as well as, or even slightly better than, human traffic operations staff. The initiative, which will see 50 installations this year and a goal of 300 citywide, aims to address congestion in growing areas like North York Center, where 100,000 new residents are expected without plans for additional road capacity. While some residents express optimism, others harbor mixed feelings, questioning if AI alone can solve gridlock without further government intervention or increased public transit use. NBC News reports that former President Donald Trump issued an extreme threat on Truth Social, stating, "A whole civilization will die tonight," as a deadline for a ceasefire agreement in the war with Iran approaches. Trump declared that the U.S. would launch attacks on Iran's infrastructure by 8 p.m. ET Tuesday due to Tehran's continued disruption of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. He also alluded to complete and total regime change in Iran. This rhetoric provoked strong condemnation from Democrats, who called his statements unhinged and warned that targeting civilian areas, such as power plants and bridges, would constitute war crimes. International law experts agreed, citing violations of the Fourth Geneva Convention. While most top Republicans remained silent, some, including Ron Johnson and former Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, publicly pushed back, with Greene calling for Trump's removal via the 25th Amendment. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.